How has this affected your daughters, the release of this information?
I think our daughters have, they were shocked to hear this. It's something that crushed them at first. Every family has things happen in the families. And some families maybe have darker things than others, but everybody deals with something. It's been recently said that what Josh did was inexcusable, but it was not unforgivable.
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesday, May 19th, and we have an update about Josh and Jim Bob. And I know this is so much of my channel right now. Honestly, I keep feeling like I need to talk about other things, but then every day I end up with new things in my inbox and people that have spoken out. And I just want to say, like, right off the bat, I'm not trying to ignore the other shows that are going on. I just feel like there's so many people coming forward now, and the gates have sort of like opened, and people that have been holding on to secrets for a really long time, they want to be heard and they want people to know what's going on in this world. And I'm trying to give everyone an opportunity to share with me, and if there's anything that I can reveal to help some of these secrets come out to the forefront, I'm going to do my best to do that, which means that there might be less variety on here. But I want you to know that it's not just the Duggars. Maybe the Duggars are the specific concept that we're talking about on this right now, but think of it in this context. The Duggars are sort of the poster children right now for everything that's wrong with this group. And so by talking about Josh, you're actually talking about dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of men that are like Josh within this organization. You're talking about families that have very similar problems. So when I speak about Josh, there's all these people that are like, this is happening in my family, this is happening in my family, we need to talk about this. And so it's making a lot of people feel like, okay, it's so far out there now in the public, now we need people to know. So that's kind of the direction I've been on. I don't mean to ignore all the other content that's out there. It just feels like a huge responsibility on my end to make sure that these survivors that have things to say, that want to say them, get heard. And if you are a survivor and if you have a story and you want to reach out to me, make sure that you follow me on Instagram at Without a Crystal Ball or on Facebook at Without a Crystal Ball. So today's rendition of what we're going to be talking about is Jim Bob and Josh. What's going on with him? Where's he going? What's going on? There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and I was actually going to do a video about this yesterday, but I didn't get into it, and so now we're going to do it right now. Jim Bob got his friends LeCount and Maria Rebert to basically take Josh in. He is living in this added on bedroom that they've built onto their property on their home. It's a Rambler, a pretty large home, a lot better than where he had been living in that converted warehouse that he and Anna were living in while he was living on the Duggars property. He is staying over there, and it's basically kind of out in everything is very rural where they live, and even the city there isn't very big. So they're in an area that they're not even in a neighborhood, so their neighbors are not very close. They have decent amount of acreage, so they don't have like a neighbor that you could actually just like say hi to, like right next door to your house, like at my house. On this property, it's completely wide open, and it's apparently making Jim Bob very scared. So if you're wondering where Jim Bob's time and energy is being spent right now, it's most certainly not with his daughters, at least from my understanding. And we'll get into kind of like how girls are treated in this cult for you to understand why they're focusing so much energy on Josh. Basically, Josh is at this property, and when they were in the court like a couple weeks ago, Maria testified that there were neighbors and there were kids that were near them. And there is a neighbor that lives there that apparently the son has been able to contact, and that neighbor has gone on record to kind of tell people a few things. According to a neighbor, Jason Jaminer, he, who lives right by the Reber's property, said that when Josh moved in, they were actually pretty concerned about it because of what he's facing, and he has a daughter that's a teenager. And so he told the son, I'm a little concerned, but there's not much that I can do about it. He said that the Rebers actually let them know that Josh was going to be moving in, And he also said this: I have a teenage daughter, so that's my concern, but she's a strong girl. We're spread apart. There is a horse pasture in between us. It's not like we interact. Everyone keeps to themselves. He did say that they came over and let him know that Josh is going to live there, but obviously he said he has some concerns with Josh living there. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't? So the neighbors are not super happy about this, and the property is very wide open. So I'm told that the Reavers actually have like more than one house, and this one happens to be more out in the country. They said that there's not like internet there. If they do have internet, there's not like a Wi-Fi. And they also said that there's not like a lot around there, so there wouldn't be like traffic going in and out. But that hasn't made Jim Bob's terrified of people finding Josh and retaliating against him. So apparently this is what the Sun says. And I guess you guys always say that the Sun is not reliable when it comes to this stuff, but I actually disagree, because they're down there. They're literally in Arkansas talking to people. And if we don't want to say they're credible about everything, that's fine. But in this case, they're actually speaking to people that are going on record. So I would say they have enough contacts, and they've interviewed Jill, Derek, Amy, other people in the family. So clearly they're speaking to people. So there has to be something to this, because someone told them, who did not want to be identified, that Jim Bob is literally spending his time and energy trying to protect Josh even right now. They say that Jim Bob is worried about Josh's safety, and he wants to ward off trespassers. So he's not worried about the kids that might have happened to him. He's not worried about what his daughters are feeling. He's not worried about his kids at home. Mind you, he has several children that are not 18 years old: Jackson, Johanna, Jennifer, Jordan, and Josie. 5 kids at home that are not legal, still minors. But he's spending all of his time and energy on a 33-year-old man-child. So he is basically so worried about this, he wants to erect a fence that goes around the entire perimeter of this home to keep trespassers out. They say that everyone is concerned for the safety during the trial. So I can understand wanting to protect LeCount and Maria, but honestly, can you imagine a friend putting you in a situation where they have your friend's son is famous and he's been arrested for something really terrible, and that terrible thing affects kids, and people don't like when people do these things to kids, and then you ask that friend to have that person live in your home, and you live in the country and there's nothing protecting you from anyone going up to your house? To me, I would not feel comfortable doing that. I would feel unsafe, not only having Josh in my house, but all of the attention that goes with Josh. So I still can't figure out why they're doing this for them. I don't get this, and there's no proof. They said they were not being paid in court, and you have to say that if someone goes on record in court, you have to, if they are willing to go under oath and say this is what it is, you have to believe them, because they can go into perjury. So unless a judge says this is perjury, you have to trust that they aren't getting paid. And so they say, this is what the source tells the Sun: Jim Bob is doing everything he can for Josh, and he's worried about the attention on him and on the family. He's concerned about photographers in town covering the case, and anyone who might want to hurt Josh because of the crimes he's accused of. So he's worried about people hurting Josh and the attention it's going to bring the family. His priorities are so messed up, in my opinion. Now, they say those who have rebelled against the family think it's disgusting. He's pulling out all the stops for him years after he was forgiven for essaying his own sisters. So people are super furious because he's already done this to his sisters, and now he's sort of going back into this repeat offense. And it's like, Jim Bob, what are you doing? Why are you wasting all this time and energy on Josh? Jim Bob has a lot to lose if Josh is convicted. And I think Jim Bob is in damage control. Like, he's going to spend as much as he can to try to get his son out so he can be exonerated, so that he can continue to make the money. Because people I talk to, and there's been a lot, from all different facets of Jim Bob's life, all describe him as a very self-obsessed person with money, and he'll do anything to protect the money train, allegedly. And this is multiple people I've talked to. And when you start getting a theory of when you start seeing the picture of the people around him saying, oh, he's very driven by money. He's going to protect the family name no matter what he does. It doesn't matter if he agrees with this or not. He's not going to believe it, or he's going to do this, or he's going to do that. And you start to get this picture of Jim Bob doesn't care, in my opinion, about whether or not Josh has done this thing. He's more concerned about how this will affect the family image and if it'll prevent his family from making money. And that's this part of this whole group with this patriarchy and the family name that's so disturbing to me. Anyway, apparently, because he's so worried about protecting his family name, he says Jim Bob has offered to pay for a new fence to be built at the Reavers to also keep them safe, along with Josh's wife Anna and the kids when they go and visit. So their concern is not keeping, his first concern, according to the source, is not protecting his friends who have offered so graciously to take in his son. His concern is taking care of his son first, and then making sure that LeCount and Maria are safe. I honestly hope that at some point LeCount and Maria are just like, Jim Bob, I'm had enough. Like, you can take your son back, but that probably won't happen. There hasn't been a comment back from the Reavers to, say whether or not this is happening. But at the same time, Josh has had Anna there. So apparently Anna was at the property with the kids. A neighbor said that they spotted Anna there visiting, and the kids were with her along with some other family members. So if you're wondering, have the kids seen Josh? According to a neighbor, the same one that went on record about, not wanting the guy Jason, said that he has seen Anna and the kids there. He's also seen other Duggars there visiting Josh. Josh is still being protected by Daddy. Now, why doesn't Jim Bob care about his daughters? Well, it's pretty simple. In the IFB, and I'm going to say this, in their churches in the IFB and in the IBLP, girls are they're not anything more than, they're not respected, and they are not taken care of. The energy of these families will always revolve around their sons, because it's their sons that are going to make them money, carry on their family name, and be the most economically beneficial. The daughters are raised to be moms, and that's it. Moms and wives, and obey and be quiet. So the quietness that you're seeing from some of the girls is probably because there could be direction from Jim Bob. Don't say anything. Your job is to be quiet and obey. Obey the line of authority. If they're still if they still believe they've fallen under Jim Bob's authority. And there are girls in his house that do. The boys are economically tied to Jim Bob, so they're not going to speak out against this, because they all work for Jim Bob. Literally every single one of them has a job employed with Jim Bob. They all work for Jim Bob. None of them are self-starters. None of them are doing their own thing. They're literally all financially tied up with Jim Bob. Even if they have their own companies, they're all intertwined and they all work together. So the boys are not going to say anything because they depend on Dad for their economic health for their families. And they are not going to go against the authority of their father. And it's, in a way, Jim Bob has created his own cult, and he's very controlling of what the kids say, both because of the patriarchy, but because of their public position. He's very careful that they not say things, because he doesn't want anything bad about the family coming out that could potentially ruin his opportunity to make money. Because from what I'm told by multiple people, Jim Bob is just literally all about the Benjamins. Josh is being protected by Daddy still, and Jim Bob's going to build a fence for Josh first, and then for the Reavers second, and then Anna and the kids. And then on top of all of that, Josh, remember that piece of property that he was in that big lawsuit that he was a part of, where the guy sued him because he bought that piece of property? I've done a bunch of videos on it, and he didn't show up to that last trial. And then the judge basically handed Carl and said, you can have the title now, and then he ordered Josh to pay the fees. Well, a new attorney has come on and is appealing the ruling. I don't know why this would even matter, why you're fighting over a piece of property. I don't know what's on this property that they want so bad back, but they filed an appeal and are now saying that Travis' story was removed from this case wrongly by the judge, even though the judge said that there was a conflict of interest. And because of the conflict of interest with this lawyer being on part of ALB Investments, Travis' story was removed by the judge because he was found to be an agent or an officer of ALB Investments, which is this company that allegedly was created by Josh And all this company has done is owned a piece of property. It doesn't have anything else attached to it. There's not a website. Nobody knows what this company does. And now even this new attorney, according to KNWA, is also named as a part of this company. So I don't know why I don't know why they want this property so bad, but they're going to appeals because they want Josh to have this property. For what? I don't know. I would take your losses. And I feel like at this point it's almost harassment because Josh didn't show up multiple times. Josh has not showed up multiple times. He was at one point in contempt. Why do they care so much about this property? Josh has so many bigger things to deal with. All right, so that's all I've got on all of this. Tell me in the comments below what your thoughts are. Bye, guys.